Hey, all. Welcome to my Come Now and Let Us Reason Together podcast. I have had so many people, especially over this past year, tell me when I make comments in church that I just need to start a podcast. And I kind of have tried to with talking about random other things about introverts versus extroverts and revelations and stuff that I'm just studying as I go. But as I've been thinking about 3rd Nephi chapter 23, where Jesus himself says, you need to study the words of Isaiah. As I've thought about that, I'm like, ooh, that means me. I need to study the words of Isaiah better. And I figured this would be a good way to do that. What I study and what I learn from, I want to share with you guys. And guys, I cannot illustrate for you how little credentials I have. I don't really have any credentials in this field. I am just a nerd. And I could be wrong about some stuff. So as we go through this stuff that's contained in Isaiah, my hope actually is that we can learn together. Is that as I figure something out, then I want to share it with you guys. And then it could be a good starting off point between a discussion of all of us to better understand what is contained in the book of Isaiah. If it is so important, then we really need to be devoting time for it, right? And this will help me to do that, and hopefully it will help you to do that as well. So I am really looking forward to diving into this series with you guys, and I hope that we can come now and let us reason together. And here's just a quick word about the kinds of resources that I'm using as I am studying through the book of Isaiah. So, number one is a website called Sefaria.org. That's Sefaria.org. It's got the original Hebrew text of the Old Testament or the Tanakh. And then it's got an English translation underneath it. And it's even organized in stanzas when there's poetry and prose when there's prose. So that's really helpful for me. And even on there, you can get commentaries by different rabbis throughout the years, along with if you highlight a specific Hebrew word, it will show you the definition of that word. So it's an incredible resource. I really have been enjoying using it. And it makes some things a little bit more plain because the King James Version of the Bible, I love it, but it is a little archaic. And there are some words where you're like, I don't understand exactly what that means. So Sefaria can give a different context and illuminate that a little bit better. The second resource that I really enjoy is called blueletterbible.org. Now, that lets you go to a specific scripture and it will show you what the King James Version of the Bible is. And then you can look, like right immediately next to it, what the Hebrew is and what the English word is. Sefaria doesn't do that. So if you're trying to find the specific word in the translation is a little bit trickier, Blue Letter Bible lets you actually find the specific word in English and then click on it to understand what the Hebrew word is, the connotations, and the usages. So that's really nice, especially if you're cross-referencing and wanting to know, was this word the same word used back in Genesis in this specific context? Like, so often, as humans, when we speak, we use hyperlinks. Each generation has like the same pool of knowledge. So for Jews who would be studying the book of Isaiah, they'd have all of these hyperlinks to other stories that came before. And they would use specific words so that you would know, hey, remember this? This is back then. For example, it doesn't get translated into English for us, but there's a Hebrew word that means dominion. And at one point in Isaiah chapter 3, it says that women have dominion. Well, in the English it says like the women rule over men or govern men, and it's a bad thing. Whereas if you take that at face value, you might think like, what does God have against women? That's not actually the case. What he's using is the word dominion because it makes you hyperlink and think back to Genesis, where at the beginning of all things, Adam was given dominion. So this is not about women versus men, really. It's about hierarchy and saying, for society, we're just going to say, for all intents and purposes, Adam has dominion over this thing and Eve has dominion over this thing. So that just illustrates in Isaiah chapter 3 how society is breaking down. That's the purpose. So it's things like that that are really helpful with blueletterbible.org because it'll show you when the same Hebrew word is used in multiple situations. And you can get a better feel then for, would this Jewish audience think and have the response that I'm thinking of or a different response? Okay, so the third resource that I found really, really helpful is on LDS.org. There are institute manuals for all books of scripture, the Old Testament section, the student manual specifically, has a section on like the world of Isaiah. It has all the chronology of what happened historically, and then it also has commentary from modern prophets on what happened back then. Also, they pull heavily from a commentary by Edward J. Young. And I, being the nerd that I am, I bought it. It's a 3-volume series, and boy howdy is it in depth, because it goes like verse by verse, almost word by word sometimes, and explains the different connotations of that word, different stories that relate to that word, and like Hebrew customs and all that stuff. So it's a really fantastic resource. It's really hard to read just straight through, which is why I use it as a reference text. So those are the 4 main resources that I've been using as I've been studying through Isaiah. There may be others along the way, like YouTube channels like the Bible Project for summaries, or other pastors and preachers talking using the knowledge that they have, or other rabbis. I may delve into those things as well, and when I do, I'll let you know. But the 4 main resources that I'm going to be using for this series have already been outlined. That way, my hope is that you can go look up whatever it is that I have said and review it for yourself. Because that's the purpose of reading through and studying Isaiah at all, is that we get to have a better connection with God. We get to understand and actually hear the voice of Jesus as Jehovah in the Old Testament. And just like it says in 3 Nephi 23, where Jesus says, Isaiah is written for the Jews, but it's also written for the Gentiles. I hope that we can get what we specifically need in this day and age, the guidance that he has for us as we study and better understand the book of Isaiah. So let's delve into it together and find out how it's not all that intimidating. Yeah?